Now, what we know this time is that the Chinese government has asked its carriers to stop taking delivery of Boeing aircraft in the meantime.
We sure are. We did get off to a little bit better start here than we anticipated, particularly in our commercial deliveries. We delivered 130 airplanes.
Everything changed for Boeing. China's three biggest airlines, Air China, China Eastern, and China Southern, abruptly halted all new Boeing deliveries. Why? Because the U.S. slapped a shocking 145% tariff on Chinese imports. In response, Beijing hit back with 125% duties on American aerospace products. The retaliation wasn't just symbolic, it was surgical. Boeing, which had counted on China for 10–15% of its global orders, suddenly saw nearly 50 aircraft frozen in limbo. These weren't just potential deals, they were active contracts now paralyzed by geopolitics. The aircraft maker, once a symbol of American industrial pride, was watching its second-largest international market evaporate overnight. This wasn't about competition anymore. It was a clear message: if Washington uses trade as a weapon, so will Beijing. And Boeing? It's caught in the crossfire. A company built on global demand and interconnected supply chains is now suffering under the very policies that were supposed to protect it. So here's the wake-up call. If even Boeing, the crown jewel of American aerospace, can't survive U.S. protectionism, who can? And the damage didn't stop at grounded jets.
Airplane back. They have, in fact, stopped taking delivery of aircraft due to the tariff environment. We have roughly 50 airplanes in our plan this year going into China. So,
after China's freeze, Boeing's CEO Kelly Ortberg confirmed that dozens of deliveries were officially canceled, a gut punch for a company already under pressure. With planes now stuck in storage, Boeing has been scrambling to find new buyers, redirecting jets meant for Chinese airlines to other markets. But you can't just flip a switch. In aviation, rerouting aircraft is a slow, costly process, especially when demand is already shaky. Meanwhile, the cost of building those jets has soared. Tariffs on critical materials like aluminum and specialty steel have driven up prices by as much as 40% year over year. For a company still recovering from the 737 MAX crisis, that's a crushing blow to margins. You can't raise prices without losing more customers, and you can't eat the costs forever. Yes, Boeing delivered 45 aircraft in April, almost double from a year ago. But here's the catch: none of them went to China. That silence speaks volumes. So what's left? A dangerous trifecta: lost sales, rising costs, and supply chain strain.
This week, 2 weeks of paid time off for Boeing production workers was supposed to end.
And when a global company like Boeing starts to wobble under that weight, the rest of the industry starts asking the same question: if Boeing's this vulnerable, who's next? With China freezing orders and U.S. production costs spiraling, Boeing isn't waiting around for Washington to fix the mess. It's already moving, and not just parts, but entire strategies. In Canada, Boeing has pledged $17.5 million towards sustainable aviation fuel projects. But insiders say this is more than climate R&D, it's a beachhead. Ottawa offered not only green tech incentives, but also stable trade terms and a long-term military contract. That's certainty Boeing says it can't find at home. In Malaysia, the company locked in tax-free status inside a government-run aerospace park, complete with maintenance hubs and low-cost skilled labor. It's the kind of package Boeing's U.S. plants can't compete with anymore, not when tariffs and political chaos are driving costs through the roof. Germany is next. A new parts hub in North Rhine-Westphalia gives Boeing faster access to EU clients and a shield against sudden U.S. policy swings. Back in the U.S., the picture is darker. Domestic assembly lines are now suspended indefinitely. That puts 40,000 jobs and the broader ecosystem of truckers, caterers, suppliers, and engineers on the chopping block. The writing's on the wall. Boeing's no longer betting on red, white, and blue. It's betting on stability. On countries that offer clear rules, reliable trade, and room to grow. Because at this point, Made in America has been replaced by a new mantra: made where it makes sense. Boeing's jets may fly the American flag, but their guts come from across the globe. Titanium from Russia, avionics and cockpit systems from France and Germany, vertical fins from India and China. These aren't optional extras, they're mission-critical components, many of which take years to certify and can't be swapped overnight. Now, here's the problem: U.S. tariffs have turned that global supply chain into a minefield. Duties on metals and electronics, some topping 50%, have added millions of dollars to the production cost of each aircraft. And Boeing, it can't just push those costs onto customers without pricing itself out of deals. This isn't about cheap labor, It's about the reality of building an airplane in 2025. The industry runs on global parts cross-border logistics and years of engineering precision. You can't tariff your way around that. As one analyst put it, you can't hide an airplane under a tariff.
I think we've got 2 of those already back, and we're bringing the 3rd airplane back. They have, in fact, stopped taking delivery of aircraft due to the...
Because when every wing wire and screw comes from somewhere else, protectionism doesn't protect it, just bleeds the supply chain dry. When Boeing cuts jobs, it's not just engineers who feel it, it's entire communities that begin to unravel. In Everett, Washington, long regarded as Boeing's industrial heartbeat, more than 160 workers were laid off in the first quarter of 2025. In North Charleston, South Carolina, another 220 jobs quietly disappeared. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're single parents, second-generation machinists, veterans with pensions and families who've built entire lives around the promise of steady work and upward mobility. And the ripple effects are brutal and wide-reaching. Truck drivers who once shuttled parts daily now sit idle. Cafeteria workers at plant sites, janitorial crews, uniform suppliers all see hours slashed or contracts terminated. The surrounding towns built on Boeing's economic footprint are starting to feel the aftershocks. Small diners are seeing fewer lunch orders. Local banks are watching mortgage delinquency rates tick up. Even school districts, some funded heavily by aerospace-adjacent tax revenue, are bracing for budget shortfalls. It's not just a blow to payrolls. It's a systemic drain on entire supply networks. In manufacturing hubs like St. Louis and Kansas City, suppliers who once specialized in precision wing spars, landing gear castings, or sewer avionics mounts are now facing a wave of canceled purchase orders. Some are cutting entire shifts. Others are laying off specialized technicians they spent years training. And the smallest firms, often reliant on a single Boeing contract, are simply shutting down. But perhaps most overlooked is the intellectual exodus now underway. Boeing, long considered a pillar of U.S. aerospace innovation, is quietly shifting its research and development footprint abroad. In early 2025, the company signed a multi-million-dollar R&D partnership with Queen's University Belfast in Northern Ireland, zeroing in on advanced aerospace materials and sustainable flight technology. Similar exploratory deals are being evaluated in Canada and Germany, regions that offer predictable trade policy, government-backed research incentives, and fast-tracked regulatory approvals. This shift is more than a logistical calculation, it's a message. When even Boeing, a longtime partner to institutions like MIT, Georgia Tech, and Purdue, decides to channel its cutting-edge research offshore, it signals a deeper erosion of faith in America's industrial policy framework. It's not just about saving money. It's about finding certainty in a world where U.S. trade and labor policy has become too erratic to plan around. What we're witnessing is not a one-time relocation, it's a slow-motion exodus. Not just of physical assets, but of intellectual capital, engineering ecosystems, and global leadership. Boeing isn't just moving airplanes. It's transferring entire pillars of American aerospace prowess to more stable, more strategic terrain. And as each lab line and job quietly shifts abroad, the question grows louder. How many more industrial giants will follow before the U.S. realizes what it's losing? While Boeing retreats, Airbus is quietly taking flight, filling the vacuum with precision timing and a diplomatic edge that's turning heads across global markets. In the immediate aftermath of China's April 2025 order, freeze on all new Boeing aircraft, Beijing's 3 major state-owned airlines, Air China China Eastern and China Southern, wasted no time shifting their gaze. By June, reports surfaced that these carriers were in advanced talks to place a historic order of up to 500 Airbus jets. If finalized, this would not only mark one of the largest commercial aircraft deals in modern aviation, it would officially lock Airbus into pole position as China's top aerospace supplier for the next decade. And this is more than just a sales coup. It's a strategic realignment of global aviation. Just a few years ago, China was poised to become Boeing's crown jewel customer base, accounting for as much as 20% of its future commercial revenue. But that trajectory was shattered by tariffs, political brinksmanship, and escalating trade retaliation. As Washington and Beijing sparred over industrial policy, Airbus moved in armed with stable EU trade agreements, a more diplomatically neutral image, and fewer supply chain obstacles. Wall Street noticed. Boeing's stock has struggled throughout 2025, weighed down by canceled orders, production relocations, and mounting uncertainty about its future manufacturing footprint. In contrast, Airbus has gained momentum not just in China, but across Asia, the Middle East, and even in markets like Brazil and Australia. Its ability to stay above the fray of U.S. trade policy has made it a safer long-term bet for global airlines eager to avoid entanglement. But this shift goes deeper than market mechanics. It's about confidence, consistency, and credibility. Boeing's challenges highlight a fundamental vulnerability in a hyper-globalized industry. Geopolitical stability is just as important as technical capability. Airlines aren't just buying planes, they're buying relationships, support ecosystems, and political predictability. As Boeing trims domestic operations and relocates research and production overseas, Airbus is expanding its reach with new hubs, workforce investments, and long-term commitments to strategic markets. What we're witnessing is not just a temporary reshuffle in jet orders, it's a symbolic handover. The once undisputed titan of aerospace is losing altitude while a quieter, steadier rival climbs into its slipstream. In the world of high-stakes aviation, trust is currency, and right now Airbus is banking it while Boeing tries to stop the bleed. What began as a bold promise to protect American industry is now revealing its contradictions. Tariffs, once marketed as tools of national revival, are increasingly functioning as industrial landmines, triggering cost surges, foreign retaliation, and corporate flight. Boeing's retreat is not just a case study, it's a warning shot. The irony runs deep. In trying to protect Made in America, policymakers may have made it harder to make anything in America at all. In a supply chain that spans continents, no jetliner, car, or smartphone is truly national anymore. The question is no longer about patriotism. It's about survival in a system that rewards agility over allegiance. When even Boeing, one of the most embedded symbols of American engineering, can no longer operate competitively at home, it forces a reckoning. Are tariffs truly insulating the economy? Or are they quietly bleeding it out? Boeing didn't give up. It was squeezed out by rising input costs, retaliatory trade barriers, and an unpredictable policy maze. The deeper issue isn't about one company's decision. It's about whether the rules America writes for itself are now driving business elsewhere. So here's the big question. Are tariffs still a tool of protection, or are they a relic of a past that no longer fits today's interconnected economy? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this breakdown helpful, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We'll keep following the fallout because this story is far from over.